Hi everybody and welcome to Beyond Politics. This morning we're going to speak about how the government is going to extra lengths to extract even more money out of the citizens. It seems that we're in a very interesting point. If the government remains the same size as it is and fails to get more money, it's literally going to cause its own demise, and that could either be something very exciting or something very terrifying, depending what you think about the state of affairs right now.
Yeah, now they are talking about going after pension fund money, and this is big news. But there's something else happening in South Africa at the moment that I don't think many people are interested in, and maybe should be.
Oh, you're talking about G20?
The G20 summit.
G20 and B20. So Alan Winde, he's the Premier of the Western Cape. There's an article about him in his speech, and he said that he's been attending the B20 meetings, and I find that very interesting. I wonder what his true thoughts are behind that. I think it's paramount for global organizations, for their relevance, that nation states fail. And we are witnessing that failure. We're witnessing the end of that failure here in this country. And we're an exceedingly mineral-rich country. I think that's the thing that's made South Africa so special. We have literally empowered the whole world, and indeed empowered the superpowers to be superpowers with our minerals. So it's in the interest of many that South Africa fails. And there's a lot of division being promoted lately, and there's just a lot of government failure happening at a faster rate.
And now Cosatu is proposing that the government digs into the pension fund money to get the shortfall of 58 billion rand for the budget. And the DA is supporting this, actually proposing that government as an employer does not pay or take a holiday on paying their contribution towards the pension fund. Now, it doesn't mean the government workers will get less money at the end of the day. They will still get the same payouts. But the fact that that is even a consideration will cause upheavals, uprisings. I mean, the civil servants will go absolutely crazy. And in this article we're talking about today, it speaks about that the ANC and DA do battle over VAT and government pension funding, and they are now proposing a 0.75% VAT hike, and most people will probably just let it pass. And you know, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of whether one should use VAT or whatever to plug this. The main thing to me in this article, and you'll get a link in the description below, is that Cyril Ramaphosa said in 2018 that he will cut the size of government. That he will do exactly what a lot of people in the world believe should happen with governments. Okay, as a principle, it says here now, it doesn't want anyone to tamper with the government employee pension fund. There's a serious trust deficit with the government after they reneged on the 2018 wage agreement. That is why we are vigilant about everything to do with workers' money. And then the fact that Cyril Ramaphosa said he will cut the size of government so there is more money, the government workforce, and he hasn't done that. He's actually increased the size of government. So in 2018, Cyril Ramaphosa said he promised a fit-for-purpose and reconfigured state when he came into office in 2018. Fit-for-purpose and reconfigured state. However, he has instead expanded the size and cost of the state. Communism.
Yep. I've never really come across politicians meeting together to decide how to make government smaller. That never happens. So we currently have the GNU with a whole bunch of parties. I can't even remember all the parties involved anymore.
That's irrelevant.
They're irrelevant. But, I mean, what a day it would be if they sat around a table and were like, let's see how we can cut the size of government down. Let's see how we can shrink administration. Let's see where we can reduce salaries. But no, that will never happen.
Pension fund.
It's all about more money and more laws. And unfortunately, you cannot legislate a country into prosperity. And I'm interested to see where this goes. Economically, I think we're flatlining very much.
Yeah, I like that statement, flatlining.
And
that's beautiful.
Life's just going to get harder for people, and that's the worst part. That is the worst part of all. Yes, we want to see government fail because it's a failed system as it is, as it stands, especially with the ideologies driving our current system and the way the current system is set up. But the worst part is that you and I and everyone, and especially the most vulnerable in our communities, are going to suffer the most. And how are we going to get through that?
Especially on the way to the collapse or the flatlining,
That's
as you
the
said.
problem. I mean, and we've seen extreme examples in places like Venezuela, for example. But people with a more communist ideology believes Venezuela only suffered because of sanctions. Meanwhile,
Blame other countries.
there's deep state rot happening because of the ideology that government must solve every problem. And we've had that mentality in this country for a long time, across the board, and that needs to change now. And as we shift into the I suppose, making the way for a new system, we need to be prepared, have the 5 needs for survival, make sure we have access to water, grow our own food, store some non-perishables, upskill ourselves as well. That's extremely important because we're on our own. Government's not saving us, and we do not want global organizations to save us. Global organizations, as far as I'm concerned, are not welcome here in this country.
What is Ellen Winnie doing at the B20?
Feeling important and eating nice food.
It really infuriates me. And now that Trump has cut US aid, which is their money, they absolutely have a right to do it. And if I was a president of another country, I would not aid and support other countries. You need to look after your own interest, especially when your debt to GDP is as bad as theirs.
That's the only job of a president, to look after the country.
So he's just doing what he's supposed to, okay? Now the people are moaning and bitching. A lot of people are losing jobs. And we now have to plug another 4 billion rand hole for HIV and AIDS treatment. And I wonder how much of that money is actually going towards the treatment and how much is going towards the salaries within NGOs and many other people.
Is that 4 billion annually?
4 billion is a lot. 4,000 million.
It is a lot.
Yes. So that's another gap they didn't consider because the cut happened after the budget speech was supposed to go out. So people, tell us in the comments how you feel about the fact that they are now going after pension fund money, and our government pension fund is funded 110%, just to end off. So they think that this is fair game because you only need to fund it 75% because everyone shouldn't retire at the same time, plus a 15% margin, so 90% actually. So they seeing that 20% as fair game. And tell us how you feel about that. Do you work for government? And maybe if you work for government, you should be worried about your job, whether you should actually be earning what you're earning, whether you're going to get cut, because I can't see any other way for government going ahead. They have to downsize.
They have to downsize, but will they is the question.
Will they? Exactly. So tell us in the comments how you feel.